that you're lifting, right? You're lifting that weight, and as you're lifting that weight, you're actually tearing the fibers of your muscle. You're tearing those fibers, and then when they grow back, they grow stronger. So if you're trying to acquire a virtue, let's use the virtue of patience. If you're trying to acquire that virtue of patience, what is God going to do? He is going to give you opportunity to lift the weight of exercising patience, which means there's a certain dying to self in the process, right? There's going to be pain, there's going to be suffering. You're dying to impatience. So you're going to feel that interiorly. Just as you feel, the suffering of the muscle in your body when you're tearing it down to help it to grow back stronger. So there's a great correlation between growth in virtue and the way in which the body functions in certain ways. So I want to encourage you today, if you're suffering with impatience, please pray to St. Peter Alcantara and ask him to please help you to acquire this. And he'll go to God, and God will say, oh, this is great, Pete. Let's see what we can do for so-and-so today. We're just going to go on in there now and give them about 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10 opportunities to exercise patience today. Maybe each opportunity for exercising patience equates to 1 pound. To a 1 pound weight. So maybe you're going to be, lifting a 10-pound weight of patience today if it gives you 10 opportunities. But it's the only way that we're going to grow in virtue, and that's by the practicing of virtue. So you can apply that to any virtue that you want to grow in. He's going to give you every single opportunity. I've shared with you in the past, and I'll share with you again, that I had a Protestant friend, who said to me, oh, Johnnette, please don't. I told her, I was teaching school, and we were team teachers. And I said to her, oh, I have to grow in patience with these kids. And she said, well, don't pray for it. Because if you pray for the patience, then the Lord is going to give you tribulation so you can exercise the patience. And I never forgot that lesson. So be careful what you pray for. You just might get the opportunity to exercise that particular virtue, right? You might get the opportunity to really put yourself into the ringer on that one. But it's a good ringer to be in, because we come out of that ringer and we're brighter and we're shinier and we are more exemplifying the life of Christ in us. So don't be afraid to do that either. 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986 is the way that you can join us live here on Women of Grace Live, where we love to have that holy conversation with you, inviting you to pick up the phone and to give us a call. In addition to that, we want to let you know we are available for you again out there at EWTN Radio's YouTube channel and or Facebook page. And we invite you to use the chat feature. Put your name in there, which it is that you're with us via, either Facebook, FB, or YT, YouTube. Let us know that. Put your question in there and we'll get it. It is a Wacky Wednesday. Sue Brinkman is with us. We've got wacky things coming up. You know it's right around the block, don't you? Halloween. So we'll be talking a little bit about Halloween today. We're going to answer your questions that you might have. I want to recommend, if you are not a subscriber to Women of Grace Exclusive, I want to encourage you to become one. This is an online opportunity for you. It's, what is it, $9.99 a month or something really small, that opens up all of our archives to you, for you. And we've got a couple of things that are really, really pertinent to this time of the year, and particularly to the season of Halloween. We have a 5-part series that we did on television, which I think is actually available to you free of charge. You just put Sue Brinkman in and all of her things will pop up there. But this is called Things That Go Bump in the Night. Things That Go Bump in the Night. And it was a 5-part series that we did on television about the occult. But Sue had presented this material to us in an hour webinar, about an hour webinar, by the same title. And that is reserved for you in our library under our webinars. All of our webinars are there for you. I mean, if you saw the treasure trove that was inside of the Women of Grace Exclusive, you would be absolutely amazed. Even our book studies are in there. So you can do a study on any of the books that Sue has let us study on. They're in there for you. So it's just absolutely remarkable. Our conference tapes are in there. I say tapes. Listen to that. Oh, my goodness sakes. I'm aging myself. Our conference talks are in there. They're reserved for you there. Also, we've got retreat talks in there. We've got many of our various kinds of Interviews are in there with bunches of different people. Just a bunch of stuff is in there. We want you to get out and take a look at that, and you can subscribe. In addition to that, that enables us to be able to continue our mission to transform the world one woman at a time. Our Women of Grace apostolate out there doing wonderful work through these beautiful, beautiful women who facilitate these groups. And if you have not joined a Women of Grace group, boy, please do so. Get out onto our website and find out all about all of those good things, womenofgrace.com. Coming right back. Stay with us.
The most original Catholic content is on EWTN Radio. Tonight on EWTN Live. Join world-renowned physicist Dr. Anthony Rizzi as he draws from his experience in the sciences to define what America is.
EWTN Live with me, Father Mitch Packwood, tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern on EWTN TV and radio.
Prayer has been so powerful in my communication with God, understanding the church better, most importantly, understanding the Lord better, and myself better. I heard it said once that God answers knee-mail, as in Knee. Prayer is powerful. One of the favorite things I love to do when it comes to prayer is to ask for the intercession of the great saints. Try it sometime. You'll be very, very impressed and surprised by the amazing power of prayer.
Hello, family. As Catholics, we naturally turn to the Blessed Virgin Mary in times of need. And throughout the history of our country, bishops have entrusted the nation to Mary's motherly protection, even naming her the patroness of the United States. Right now, as we see much division and unrest in our country, we know that we can seek the assistance of our Blessed Mother. We can ask for Mary's intercession, that our leaders follow truth, guarantee religious liberty, and ensure that all human life is valued and protected from conception until natural death. On October 30th, EWTN will once again broadcast a novena to the Mother of God for the nation. For 9 days, the novena will air immediately following the daily televised Mass. Please join us for this powerful prayer for our nation and our leaders. May God bless you, and may God bless the United States.
The 9-day novena to the Mother of God for the nation starts Sunday morning, October 30th, 9:30 Eastern on EWTN television.
Well, you hear that music, and that's a sure sign that it is a Wacky Wednesday, and that Sue Brinkman is with us, and we're going to be talking about wacky things. Eager to take your calls on anything that you see out there in the world today that has you scratching your head and wondering what it's all about. We're going to do our very best to answer your questions today. We invite you to give us a call here. Got a toll-free number for you in North America. It's 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. Don't be shy. Give it a try. Don't delay. Call right away. We want to hear from you today. Oh, I don't know what you think about that. It tickles me pink, though, to say it. Anyway, all that being said, we're available to you through radio that way. Also available for you out there at EWTN Radio's YouTube channel and Facebook page. Just use the chat feature there. We'll get your question up on the board, and we'll be able to address it. Jeff Burson is the person who goes on out there and retrieves your questions and comments from social media. Matt Gabensky on the phones. Always happy to hear from you. You put a big old smile on Matt's face when you give us a buzz. And you put a smile on my face, too, and Sue loves it as well. So good morning to you, Miss Sue.
Oh, good morning. How are you doing today?
Well, I am doing very well. Thank you for asking. It's been an odd day, but nonetheless, I thank God for the day. I thank God for breath in my body and the ability to continue to move forward, working in the proclamation of the gospel message. So all in all, it's good. It's a good day. What about you?
I don't want a whole lot of those tests for patience, when you were talking about that. I don't even like the word patience. I call it the P word. Don't say that P word. No, Lord, I'll learn it myself. I'll learn it myself.
Well, maybe it was on my mind, first of all, because of the saint of the day. But in addition to that, I've had already this morning, I've had umpteen opportunities to exercise the virtue of patience. Mostly patience with myself, I have to admit. mostly patience with myself. All of that being said, it is a wonderful day to know that there is a patron saint that can help us with such things.
That's for sure. I mean, you mentioned Teresa of Avila, and I always love her for that because she was not the most patient person. You know, remember when she fell out of the carriage?
Yes.
At one time, and she fell into a creek. And she said, Lord, well, now I know why you don't have as many friends. Look how you treat them. I mean, you know,
if this is how you treat your friends,
your friends, yeah.
No wonder you have so few. Yeah.
I mean, Padre Pio was short-tempered, too.
Yes, he was.
He could, you know, he had times when he would say to people, be quiet. Don't you see I'm praying? You know, that sort of thing.
Well, I know. And he would throw them out of the confessional. I don't mean physically. He'd just tell them to get out. They really weren't repentant. I guess he just didn't have time for those kinds of things. But, you know, another one who had to work really hard on certain virtues that would lean towards impatience was St. Jerome. He was really irascible. Oh. He was a grumpy, curmudgeon, irritable man.
He did some good work, though, that's for sure.
We translated
the Bible.
Such
a debt to Jerome.
But, you know, and another thing I like about St. Jerome, I don't really care for those aspects of his being. He would probably frighten me away. But he didn't frighten several women away because he had women that actually worked with him in the translation of the Bible from the Greek to the Latin. And one of them was St. Paula. And he just praised her and said that, you know, she was brilliant and she was smart. And, you know, in that day and time, women were not really well educated, but she somehow, you know, was on the other side of that curve and was educated. And he admired her. I think that he even said that she was greater than most men, which, you know, for that day and time, that was a big compliment.
That was a big statement for him to say something like that. I imagine that he probably caused a little bit of scandal for saying that. If he said it at his time, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And he and St. Augustine would go toe-to-toe with each other. That was another thing I thought was interesting. They had no particular fondness for each other. They would argue over theological points and really had very little use for each other. So doesn't it give you a great sense of encouragement to know that all of these great saints struggled with the same kinds of stuff that we struggle with?
I do. I love that. I love when the saints' lives come alive to me and they become relevant to me. Instead of me having them up on this pedestal, I think, I'll never get there. I mean, sometimes that can be very discouraging. And then when you hear about things like this, like Teresa of Avila and Padre Pio and St. Jerome, when you hear these little things about them, it humanizes them. It makes them much more human to us. And now we can kind of relate to them and say, hey, look, you know, if they could do it, maybe I could do it too. I mean, he had his problems. He got over them with the grace of God, and the same grace is available to me. It's just, you know, how much am I going to cooperate with it? That's really where we have to be careful, is how much we cooperate. But we've got the same grace. He's offering us the same grace he offered them.
I know. It tells us in sacred scripture that he's not a respecter of persons, meaning that he loves each one of us infinitely and gives us everything each one of us needs. So
he doesn't play favorites.
No, he doesn't. And I love to ask these saints for their intercession for these things because, you know, they're right there. You know, they've been perfected now. And so their prayers are very mighty and very strong indeed. Well, there's all kinds of stuff going on. Halloween is around the corner. We certainly need a lot of prayer for that. Good one to pray to. Who was it that we talked about? St. Cyprian, wasn't it? St. Cyprian, who was raised in an idolatrous household and was involved in witchcraft and all of this stuff and left all of that, had a deep conversion to the faith and became a saint. So he's a good one to pray to at this time of the year.
And there was another one too, he was the one who became a big champion of the Rosary.
Oh, Bartolo Longo.
Bartolo Longo. He was he was actually a priest of Satan.
Yes.
He was a Satanist, very active in that, and ended up converting and becoming a great champion of the Rosary. So, yeah, I frequently will think about him and pray to him. I love to pray to our saints, and I'm so happy that this time of year is coming up. The time of all saints, the time of all souls, because that communion of saints is so important to us in our faith. For me, they're almost like family. I reach out to them a lot. Really, now that I stop and think about it, I don't think a day goes by that I do not reach out to a saint.
Yeah.
One saint or another. Most likely it's going to be Therese or Teresa of Avila or John of the Cross or somebody like that. But I just rely on them. They're a part of my everyday life. They're, like I said, they're like my family. I feel like Therese is my sister.
That's so beautiful.
I just feel that way. I feel so close to the saints, and they are such an example for me. I can hear my cat's now going into his crying routine in the background.
Well,
I'll get rid of him in a minute.
They're agreeing with you. They're agreeing with you. They reach out to their saints too.
Yeah. Hey, there were some saints
Saint
that had cats. I
Francis.
can't remember them, but they do. Some of them do have them. But anyway, yeah, it's just such a special time of year for all of us, for that whole communion of saints. I just think is so important.
It is beautiful. And of course, I just want to let everybody know that you are a third order Carmelite, right? And you live a Carmelite lifestyle in your own home, of course, but you live a very Carmelite lifestyle. And this is why so many of the Carmelite saints are so close to you. And I do think that you're right about that too, because, I remember that St. John the 23rd said something so beautiful that was so comforting to me after I lost my son. And he said, our loved ones are not separated from us, only invisible to us. And I think that when we recognize and realize that the soul is immortal, so, the person is a composite of body and soul. Of course, the body is in the ground. That's one of the residual effects of original sin. The body and soul were never meant to be separated, but they are separated. And God in his mercy gives us opportunity for eternal life. We'll be reunited with our bodies when Jesus comes again. But the soul is alive. The soul is living. And so we can indeed have a relationship, so to speak, not in the sense of an occult relationship, but in the sense of the communion of saints. We have this opportunity to be very close to these holy men and women who are already with our Lord, being the beatific vision. So what a beautiful, beautiful thing it is. So, and I think that as we reach out to the saints reach out to us. It's hard to explain. But it's definitely real, and you talk about experiencing it, and I'm certain that is the case.
It is, and it comes from our heart. It comes from our soul. That's where that connection is. It's like our loved ones who have passed away. I don't know how many times I think I say things to my mom and my dad now. It's just you feel very close to them still, even though they're not here. You're close to them on a whole different level now. And I just think it's beautiful. The whole communion of saints is something that I think kind of falls into the background. Halloween has just taken over everything at this time of year. And it's sad because some of, I think, our greatest feasts are coming up, the Feast of All Souls and the Feast of All Saints. And Halloween has infringed upon it. It has been infringing upon it for centuries, and to the extent that people actually believe that the Feast of All Saints was derived from paganism. People actually believe that. Oh yeah, you got that from Halloween. It's like, no, wait a minute. That is not where that's not where Halloween came from. And it's sad because it is so covered over by all of the occult stuff and the decorations, the costuming, the going out for the candy, and people just forget all about the Christian aspect of this wonderful feast that's coming up. And a couple years ago, Bishop Condola, he wrote about Halloween, and he kind of encouraged people to take Halloween back. It's Hallows Eve. It's the Eve of All Saints. That's what it is. And he says even the custom of dressing up for Halloween, that's supposed to be devotional in spirit. And he said some of the more frightening aspects of the feast, like the skulls and the skies, well, that's associated with our mortality. It reminds us to be holy because we're destined for judgment. So that's this is where we're supposed to be going with it. The gaulish, the Gothic costumes, sometimes they can be used to celebrate evil or death itself, he says, but we shouldn't allow that to contradict the authentic meaning of Halloween, which is, as he said, dwelling on our mortality, dwelling on the truths about good and evil. And he says to parents, teach your children what Halloween truly is.
That's right.
Tell them that. Tell them why you can't dress up as a witch, why you can't dress up as a devil, why these are not appropriate costumes. Explain that to them. And maybe the only time they're going to get catechesis on that subject is, explaining that witchcraft is dangerous. Sorcery is dangerous. When you get involved in magic and that you're calling upon forces that aren't sourced in God, they're dark forces. Teach your children, age appropriately, of course, but teach them what our teaching is. And kind of, I think what he was saying in this article is take Halloween back.
Yes.
Take it back. Don't let them take it away from us, because that's exactly what they're doing. They've allowed all these Celtic type, superstitions and stuff to come into it. And like I said, even to the point where people think that the Feast of All Saints is derived from paganism. And they actually believe that.
And it's so sad. And, this is exactly what happens. The evil one takes the things of God and turns them on their head. And so even with the occult, we were talking about the communion of saints a moment ago. So what does the occult do? It takes this truth of the communion of saints and turns it on its head, and then comes up with rites and rituals to have us contact the dead, which is not what we're supposed to be about. And that's not the same as the communion of saints. But there's always some kind of a little thread of truth in it that is the enticement that gets us to look more deeply into it. And I love what you're saying about this article, because I think it's so very true. Here, the skull is meant to be a reminder of our mortality, so that we will turn away from sin and turn toward God, metanoia, that will continue to have conversion of heart in all of those ways in which we fall short of the glory of God, which are numerous, right? But now, no, what we do, we air quotes, worship the skull. And we've turned Halloween into a time of if you want to look at it, a secular worship. It frustrates me to no end as I drive through neighborhoods and I see them all decorated, in craziness to celebrate this season. And it has nothing to do with anything that is related to the roots of it or what it's really supposed to be about. We kind of exalt it. We exalt the macabre. We exalt the ghoulish. We exalt that, completely displacing the spiritual significance of it. And people say, well, what about trick-or-treating? What about taking the kids around? Well, if these are customs that have grown up around this. You can look at them individually, but I have to agree with you. Don't dress your kids up looking like things from the grave. Dress your kids up that exalt the things of glory. I used to we mentioned this, I think, last week, Sue, or the week before. We talked a little bit about dressing the children up as saints. This was a wonderful thing. You can make a statement in the midst of all of this, by doing such things and calling attention to all that is good, all that is true, all that is beautiful.
Absolutely. Why not dress up as Joan of Arc? That's a great costume to Joan of Arc. I mean, there's many of our saints that we can dress our children up that I think that they'll be fine out there amongst the secular masses. And I think that they might impress some of the other children. Well, who was Joan of Arc? They asked a question about it. Well, yeah, she dressed up and she beat these people, and she was really good at this. She was the head of an army, and she was fighting for her country. She actually led an army. Being a woman, she was the first, one of the only women really who did it in that day, who was able to become a leader of an army. I mean, that was unheard of in France at the time. So, I mean, there's so many things that we could be doing if we just sit down and think about it, right? Get out of the Halloween mindset, get back into the Christian mindset, and then come up with some good, clever ideas. Sort of like, let's get out of the box.
Yes.
We're in this Halloween box, and that's just kind of all we think about.
Well, and
dressing up as the dead.
It's gotten darker and darker. With these, from the time that you and I were young little girls to the time now, you can see how there's been a progressive darkness. And I think that there's really, that's metaphoric, because we have traveled as a culture further and further away from God. And the further and further away from God we get, the darker and darker the world becomes. And that's where we are right now. We're in a very, very dark world. But Jesus Christ is the light. He is the way. He's the truth. And those of us that know him must proclaim him in the midst of all of it, in the midst of all of the darkness. Well, our phone lines are lighting up beautifully, and I want to thank all of you. I want you to hold on. We're going to go to a break here in just a minute and a half, and then we're going to come right back and get to you. Let me give the number again. We've got two lines open for you, 833 288 EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. Inviting you to give us a call here. Matt Gubensky's on the phones. We're available for you too out there at EWTN Radio's YouTube channel and Facebook page. Inviting you to get on out there and use that opportunity to join up with us today. Leave your comment for us in the chat feature at either one of those two locations. Jeff Burson will go and he will get it for you. So Sue, when we come back from the break, we're going to be with Teresa. She's in Long Island, New York. We've got Yolanda with us too, an anonymous caller today. And we're inviting you to call us. So please do, 833-288-EWTN. It looks like Teresa just left us. Come on back, Teresa. We're coming to you right on the other side of this break, and we're getting ready to go to that break in just a second. So from the beginning of our program today, what's the takeaway? One, pray for the virtue that you need. The saint who is the patron of that virtue will intercede for you and help you to acquire it, and look for the opportunities that God gives you to practice that virtue. And also, let's bring Halloween back to its authentic roots. More on the other side of the break here. Stay with us.
Father Andrew Apostoli, Kimberly Hahn, Owen Jensen.
The leading Catholic voices are on the largest Catholic media network in the world. You're listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
It's really awe-inspiring to know that Take Two with Jerry and Debbie has the impact that it does. We know from what our listeners share on the air, but also from corresponding with them outside of the show via email and social media. There's no better feeling than knowing you've helped someone, maybe many people at a time, work through various situations and to more clearly see God's purpose and plan for their lives.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, today, noon Eastern, on EWTN Radio.
EWTN Publishing proudly presents the latest work from one of the world's most important Catholic voices, Robert Cardinal Seurat. In his dynamic and authoritative book, Catechism of the Spiritual Life, Cardinal Robert Seurat shows us how to enter into and progress through the spiritual life. Organized around the sacraments, prayer, asceticism, and the liturgy, Cardinal Seurat invites you to journey with him through the Gospels, learning about the sacred mysteries of the faith as we continue on our lifelong path of conversion, leading back to our Father in heaven. Catechism of the Spiritual Life by Robert Cardinal Seurat, the latest release from EWTN Publishing. Now available at EWTNRC.com or call 1-800-854-6316. That's EWTNRC.com or call 1-800-854-6316.
Tomorrow on More to Life, Life in Pieces.
We'll help you make peace with the parts of yourself you like the least.
That's tomorrow on More to Life. Now back to Women of Grace with Johnnette Williams.
Transforming the world one woman at a time. Let's return to Women of Grace with Johnnette Williams.
Well, we welcome you back. We're so happy you are with us today. You are listening to Women of Grace Live. I am Johnnette Williams. I'm joined here by Sue Brinkman, who is oh my goodness, she fills a whole bunch of positions here at Women of Grace, and that's the way it is for all of us. We wear several different hats, but Sue really does all of the research for us on the New Age. She gets our New Age blog up there. She also has Grace Under Fire, Exposing the Darkness. It's a podcast that's available for you there. Just click on library. You'll see it. You'll see the icon there for it. Click on that, and it'll show you all of the various categories. You can access the New Age blog right on the homepage. It's there for you. It's a Q&A. Has, I don't know, Sue would know better, but I think she's got to have 1,500 questions and answers in there in that blog on a variety of topics. You can search by topic on there as well. In addition to all of that, she conducts our book studies. She's doing a great book study right now. Has had, oh my goodness sakes, I don't know, just over 100 people participating in that book study, which is really incredible. What else does she do for us? She smiles a lot. She teaches us a whole bunch of things. She does webinars for us. She is on radio every week with us on Wednesdays. Hopefully she's going to be with us on television as we approach this new year. I'm so excited about some things that we're going to be doing differently with Women of Grace Television. All kinds of good stuff coming up for you. But we're here for you today. We want to hear from you on your questions. We have got you here by phone, and some of you are calling in now, 833-288-EWTN. Toll free for you it is here in North America, 833-288-EWTN. And that would be Matt Gubensky, who you'll be talking to. He's our call screener. Jeff Burson will collect your questions out there at EWTN social sites, EWTN Radio, Radio's YouTube channel and Facebook page. We've got a couple of questions that are up on the board for us there. And Teresa is back. And we promised Teresa that we were going to come right to her after the break. So let's go to Teresa. She's in Long Island, New York today. So glad you called back. Teresa, how are you?
Doing.
Hi, Teresa.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm in my car on the way to the airport.
Oh dear.
So this is a wacky Wednesday situation that I've been meaning to call you about, and it was for this. I got in the car at the time your show was coming on, but my daughter has been in my house for a year now. And she called spirit guide that she consults with, and she is wreaking havoc in my house. She has her kids there, my grandchildren. She won't let me talk to them. Her husband and she have taken over my entire house. My husband and I are living in our bedroom. We're in the process of evicting them, and she seems to be able to elude, everything. And, and she's consulting with spirit guides, and they're telling her to do things that I don't know. I don't know what to do with this whole situation, how to get rid of it.
So, Teresa, let me repeat back what I think I understood you to say. We're having a little bit of trouble with your audio there, but I think that what you're telling us is that your daughter is consorting with spirits. She has a spirit guide. The spirit guide is informing her and telling her to do certain things. She's in your house with her children. You are trying to get her out of your house. You're trying to evict her, but that hasn't happened yet. Am I correct so far?
Yes, Johnnette, that's right.
Okay, good. So, this is a very difficult situation. Sue, what do you have to say?
Well, the fact that this spirit is advising her, and what's happening is that she's actually destroying family relationships should tell you right then and there where that spirit's coming from. There's no such thing as a spirit guide. It's a demon who is masquerading as someone who is her friend. I'm sure that's how he got into her good graces, by promising her favors and give her powers or whatever else she might have been praying for at the time. But that's really what's going on with this. She's calling a dark entity into your house, into your family situation. For one thing, I would consider getting that house blessed, to make it as uncomfortable as possible for that spirit to be cohabiting there with you, because that's what's really going on here. As long as she's calling on that spirit, it's just hanging around.
Yes.
What you have had?
She had the house blessed.
Okay, well, that's a good thing. And as long as you stay in a state of grace, you personally are safe. You're okay. And by meaning staying in a state of grace, I mean that, no mortal sin on the soul, going to confession at least monthly, attending the sacraments, having a daily prayer life. Nobody really knows except God if you're in a state of grace, but there's a lot we can do to improve our chances of that.
Yeah.
Make sure that you do that.
Yes,
wear
that's
protection.
I'm worried about my grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
They're under her influence. I'm not allowed to talk to them. And I don't know how this is going to affect them.
How old are these children, Teresa? How old are they?
6 and 4.
Are they baptized?
Are they? Yes, they are baptized.
Okay. Because, children at that age, the church says age of reason hasn't happened yet. So they're incapable of serious sin. And their baptismal vows should, and the grace of baptism should really protect them. Wouldn't you agree, Sue?
Absolutely. They would be okay. What's going to happen later in life, we need to find out from your daughter why it is she feels she needs to consort with these beings. Has she ever told you that? Has she ever indicated to you, why she's exploring in these directions?
She thinks they're leading her down the right path, which they're not. She thinks she's convinced that she's.
Okay, so he's convinced. Sure, he's telling her exactly what she needs to hear in order to convince her of that, because that's how Satan operates. He's extremely intelligent. She has no chance against outsmarting him. He's definitely outsmarting her. This situation needs a whole lot of prayer. You need a lot of course of protection for yourself and your husband and your house. And I think you're doing all the right things as far as that's concerned. But she does, if she's going to continue to consort with this spirit, she does have to leave the house. I mean, she just can't be allowed to stay there under those conditions.
No, I know. I'm trying. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Well, I think too, I would go around the perimeter of your property with blessed salt, obviously praying the rosary, praying to Our Lady, Undoer of Knots.
Yes,
I can't
that.
imagine how, just on a natural level, Teresa, I cannot imagine how uncomfortable it must be for you to be living in a home where your daughter is there doing these kinds of things, but also preventing you from speaking to your grandchildren who are in that home with her. I mean, what an uncomfortable living situation this has become just on the natural. Even without the supernatural involvement, that's a tremendous heartache and a tremendously difficult situation to navigate. So, I don't know if you have a spiritual director, but I would really encourage you to find someone who can walk you through this time and give you, some help and guidance as it pertains to your own spiritual life and as it pertains to really still being the spiritual mother, the matriarch of this family, but having this very, very difficult situation.
Yeah, thank you. I do have a spiritual director, so sounds like from you, that I'm doing everything that you have suggested. I even spoke to an exorcist in our diocese, and he said, holy water all over the place. And our Franciscan advisor has told me prayer and fasting. So I guess there's nothing more I can do.
Well, let me just say one thing that just came up, actually, ironically, in our staff meeting for Women of Grace this week, and it just popped into my head. So maybe this is a good idea, since you know an exorcist. Years and years ago, a woman came to me and she said, just based on the work that you do, Johnnette, she said, I spoke with my spiritual director, who was an exorcist, and she says, and he blessed a bell for you. He put an exorcism prayer on this bell. So I have a bell that is exorcised. And the person that caused that to come into my mind was one of our staff members who is friends with an exorcist in the Philippines, Father Sakia, who actually came to Malvern this year. And again, friends, just telling you out there at Women of Grace Exclusive, all of that's available for you. And Father Sakia was telling him about the power of using a blessed bell in the exorcism rite. And what they've discovered is that the demons hate the sound of sacred bells. Hate it. Oh. So you remember that, Sue, when we were talking about that this week? And so I would suggest they hate it. They can't stand it. They hate it. So what I would suggest is that you purchase a bell, take the bell to your spiritual director or to the exorcist in your diocese and ask them to pray an exorcism prayer over that. And I would bring that bell into your house. I would be ringing that bell. I mean, not 24/7, but I would be ringing that bell.
And let the kids play with it.
I will do that.
Let the kids play with it.
Excellent.
They'll love it.
Excellent, Sue. Yes.
I will do that. Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
You're welcome. So there's the holy water, the blessed salt, an exorcised bell. Dress yourself up as Joan of Arc and go into battle.
That's it. That's it. Keep us posted.
Please pray for my grandchildren if you can.
We will, for sure.
And your daughter as well.
Thank you so much.
Yes, the whole situation.
Thank you. Yes, she needs it. Thank you.
God bless you
so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you, Teresa. You can join us too, friends, 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. We have a question from Michael out there on YouTube. He says, Teresa needs to crank up some Gregorian chant loud. Another really good suggestion there for you, Teresa, from Michael. Yeah, because they hate that too.
That's right. They do. They don't like those noises. They don't like, and they don't like anything sacred or holy.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds to me, though, this demon who's ever consorted with the daughter, he's not having a comfortable ride in Teresa's house. Is what it sounds like. It sounds like she is a woman of faith. She's doing all the right things. So he's not in there on a joyride.
Yeah.
It's hurtful for him. But what he is enjoying, of course, is destroying this family.
Mm-hmm.
And of course destroying the daughter, even while the daughter is believing that this spirit guide is helping her. But that's how they are. They're so clever. They know exactly what to say to you. They know what your past wounds are. They know everything that's influenced you in the course of your life because they've been watching you all that time.
That's right.
They know all these things, and they know what to say to you to convince you that everything's fine. They're for real. They're going to help you. They're going to get you out of this mess. They're going to give you powers. All you have to do is listen to them. Just listen to them. So this poor daughter is under the complete control of this demon and has no clue about it.
And a couple of things I want to mention, and again, I know I'm mentioning Women of Grace Exclusive a lot, but the fact of the matter is, the talks that Father Sakia gave are available out there at Women of Grace Exclusive. And, it was it's very interesting to speak to exorcists because, of course, there is the exorcism rite itself. But oftentimes we have a very Hollywood picture of what this is like. And it's not generally one exorcism that is performed. It's generally several exorcisms that are performed because there are layers of spirits, and this is what happens. Mm-hmm. You get how do I want it? There's a hierarchy of spirits in the demonic world, just as there is in the angelic world. And so you have these lower demons that kind of, get a toehold, and then more stronger ones come along. So there's and there's different kinds of spirits that govern different kinds of territories, just like there are with angels, with the heavenly angels. So there can be a multi-demonic influence that's going on. And so the exorcism rite is, of course, the rite of the church, but exorcists discover a lot through experience and through consulting with other exorcists on what works. And so this bell thing was something that grew out of an experience that Father Sakia had, and they were really wrestling with this demon. And nothing was working. Nothing was working. This demon continued to hide, which is what they'll do. They'll hide, and so they wondered, well, what else can we try? We've done this and this and this. What else can we try? And they went and they got the bells. And I imagine it was the bells that they use at the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass, and began to chime those bells. And they said, basically, all hell broke loose. So they were able to get this thing budged. So. That being said, these are your helps and aids that we need. These are helps and aids that we need. And this is the other thing that people don't often realize is that, there might be one strong man, but there's legions. There can be legions underneath that strong man, troops basically, that strong man commands. And so, we don't want to get involved in this stuff, folks. I just don't even know how to explain it to you. Other than telling you what these experiences are that people that are engaged in deliverance ministry and exorcism have. It's very, very difficult. Not impossible. Mm-hmm. No one is stronger than God. But there does have to be a willingness on the part of the person who's being exorcised. If there's no willingness there's not much that God will not trespass our free will. So there's got to be a willingness there. David is out there on YouTube, and David says, did not the gargoyles of yesteryear's icons on the cathedral celebrate the ghoulish? So talk to us about gargoyles.
Well, gargoyles, there's actually differing views on that because there's, according to a French legend, gargoyles are actually protect you from evil spirits and harmful spirits. And the word gargoyle means throat in French. It's a derivative from a French word that means throat. And that's why you often see them on the buildings and you see the water, the rain coming off of them is coming out through their mouths. Mm-hmm. So there's different views on them. Some say that they are evil, they're representative of evil. Others say no, they're actually the protection against evil. So there's a lot of mythology and legends surrounding gargoyles. There's really not one true statement about about a gargoyle. It's as I said, so many differing views out there on what a gargoyle actually is. I think they look creepy. They look to me like little demons. That's in my opinion. I was actually surprised when I learned that they were supposed to protect you from evil spirits. And I thought, oh, well, that's a different take on a gargoyle. But yeah, they are, and they're and architecturally they're used a lot in buildings, and mostly they're used to divert water. From roofs and ledges and things like that. That's what a gargoyle, like, why do they have to pick a gargoyle? I don't know. Why can't it just be like a beautiful angel? But yeah, it's a good question, though. It's a very good question.
Yeah, and I have my own personal theory. Do you want to hear it?
Sure.
You never see a gargoyle inside of the church. They're always on the outside of the church, right? And so they can't get inside the church. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a sign that the church is sacred and nothing evil can enter there. And so the demonic forces cannot enter into the church, unless we bring them in. That's another thing. You can, can perform, horrible acts of occultism in the churches, and that has been done, but that's a whole other matter. So we are protected in the church. The church is a safe sanctuary. As far as like the spitting out, they can't, the only thing I could think of is that they cannot receive the living water. So, it's spewed out of their mouth, But that's just my own personal theory on them.
There's a good question. There's a lot of mythology out there about gargoyles, and I think that let me see what his name is now. Who asked that question? David. I think that you would be very fascinated by just looking into the gargoyle mythology. Like, what is it? What does it symbolize? There's a lot of different things out there on that subject. It's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, and remember, there's a cross on top of the church, so they're underneath the cross there. Let's get to Mary Beth. She is in Marietta, Ohio today, and she is listening to us via Alexa. Hi, Mary Beth.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello. I just had one very simple idea that I think I'm going to do this year for our trick-or-treaters. Is I'm just going to simply say, God bless you, to every single little trick-or-treater. It may be the only time they ever hear it outside of the context of a sneeze.
Well, Mary Beth, that's a great idea. What a great gift, too.
Well, it's so simple, I almost didn't call you because it was so simple.
I think that's lovely.
I think it's a great idea. I think that's a great idea. I mean, to just say God bless you to everybody. And I'll bet you the parents would very much appreciate it, though. At least the children that come to my door. I don't really get any of the Harry Potter type dress up people. Mine are usually princesses. There's a lot of young children, and they want to be, you know how the little girls are at that age. Anything that sparkles, that's what they want. So they're all princesses and ballerinas and stuff. And when I say God bless you to them, they love that. That's. I think it's a great idea, though, Mary Beth. I mean, it's just a way of taking back a little bit of Halloween back to us, back to where it belongs. It's All Hallows Eve.
They always go in a group. So I'm going to make sure to say it to each one of them individually. So
that's
they'll
lovely.
hear that.
Oh, that's
again
lovely.
And
I think it's beautiful. I think it's a great idea.
Some little witches and some of that. I don't like that at all. And I've never been one to like gore. I just think it's icky. I don't know how parents can have their kids dress up gory, with fake blood on their face.
I know.
That's true. I was going to mention that before. The violence in some of these costumes is like, wow, what are these kids watching? I mean, I can't even watch commercials about scary movies. The blood is everywhere. They're walking around with hatchets in their heads and stuff, and knives going through their hearts. Yeah, it's terrible. I think it's great, Mary Beth. Every time you drop a candy bar into the bag, just say, God bless you, God bless you.
It's a great idea, Mary Beth. Thank you so much for that suggestion. I think that everybody out there, listen to what Mary Beth is doing. Maybe you want to consider that for yourself. I think it's a beautiful way to, as we say, take back this time of the year. I want to get to Tom. He's in Denver, Colorado. Hey, Tom, how are you?
Hello?
Hi, Tom. You're on the air.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I heard the other caller a few minutes ago talk about the problems that she's having in her house I think it was her daughter was dabbling in the occult or something,
Yes.
and she's having demonic activity. My heart was out to her because we've had the same thing in our house for a similar reason, and the person's no longer doing that and has repudiated it, but just the things remain in the house. And I had some advice for her that I wanted to share of things that have worked with us, that I work with my exorcist on doing. I absolutely agree about the bells. Go get bells, even from a Catholic store, and get them exercised. But even for me, I download these monks, these abbeys, that they have these songs, like Angelus is one song. They have bells. And you can play that all the time because it drives them nuts. They absolutely hate that stuff. I also play on my screens live adoration images of the actual demonstrant.
Wow.
They have them all over the world. They're 24/7. They can't come near me when I have that on the screen.
Tom, that is wonderful, and I'm sorry we have to leave it there because we are right at the edge of the show here. But what excellent suggestions you've given, and thank you for confirming that on the exercise bells. Adoration, 24/7 on your computer screen, and also playing Gregorian chant, especially the Angelus. Wonderful suggestions. Sue, we're at 15 seconds here. It's been great having you with us today, and friends, we wish you a blessed and holy time of the year at this time. God bless you now. Bye-bye.
Here's a thought from Mother Angelica's Perpetual Catholic.
Your life has been a challenge. Let's talk about how to handle it next on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.